In the forgotten village of Hollow End, where fog clung to the earth like a shroud and the trees whispered secrets to the wind, death was not a visitor, it was a resident. It lingered in the air, it sat at every hearth, and it watched from every mirror. Few remained in Hollow End, and those who did spoke little of the past. But all knew one thing: when the black-robed figure appeared, no door, no lock, and no prayer could stop the inevitable. This is the tale of the Reaper's return, and the souls who tried to escape his harvest. Father Corvin had buried more souls than he had baptized. The church bell of Saint Eterna had tolled endlessly over the years, each note marking the end of another name etched into the granite wall outside. But today, the bell rang for a man who hadn't even grown old. Jacob Vane, only 27, was found in his home, his chest torn open, heart missing, yet his face bore no signs of pain. Just calm, as though death had whispered something soothing before taking him. Corvin felt the air shift as he delivered the final prayer. The fog was heavier. The ravens were watching. The villagers murmured of the Reaper, as if merely speaking the name would summon the figure from the mist. Later that night, Corvin lit a candle before the altar. As the flame flickered, he felt it, a presence. Cold and ancient. "You should not be here," the priest whispered. From the shadows behind the altar, a voice replied, not spoken, but felt. For remained who had once stood against death: Corvin, Mira the apothecary, old Tom the gravedigger, and Elias, once a soldier of the king. Years ago, they had cheated fate, performing a ritual beneath a blood moon to banish the Reaper. It was not an act of courage, it was desperation. Their children had died in the fever, and when the Reaper came to collect, they defied him. They carved symbols into their skin. They spilled innocent blood. They gave up part of their own souls to seal him away. But the Reaper never forgets. And he always collects. That night, old Tom was found dead beside an open grave, his own name chiseled into the headstone. Heart gone. Mouth open in silent laughter. Mira knew the signs. She gathered herbs, prepared wards, burned incense, but it was futile. The Reaper was beyond herbs. He did not walk on mortal rules. Elias loaded his musket and sharpened his blade. If death wants a fight, it'll get one. But even he knew, you can't fight the dark. One by one, Hollow End darkened. The candles dimmed sooner. Reflections warped in glass. Time seemed to skip, like a cracked record. People began to see the figure, a tall shadow just outside their windows. Horses refused to ride past the church. Dogs howled at nothing. Children dreamed of a man with no face and a scythe made of stars. Mira tried to flee. She made it as far as the river. They found her boat drifting, her body untouched but lifeless. Eyes wide, staring up into the void. Her heart was missing, and in its place, a feather of black glass. Corvin, alone in his chapel, turned to ancient texts. He found an old passage from a forgotten gospel. He who steals time shall owe it. He who defies death shall welcome him twice. For the Reaper walks where lies are sown. They hadn't banished him. They had delayed him. Corvin summoned Elias. The soldier had barricaded his home with iron nails and crosses, but the priest convinced him to come. "We bought time. That's all. We have to return what we took." Elias laughed bitterly. "I gave up everything already. My son. My wife. My faith. You still have your soul." Together, they descended into the catacombs beneath the church, where the ritual had first taken place. The symbols were still there, faded, cracked, but pulsing faintly. They began the counter-ritual. Blood. Fire. Remembrance. The temperature dropped. Then came the sound, a scythe scraping stone. From the corridor, the Reaper emerged, robes billowing in wind that didn't exist. "You call me, and yet you flee. You pray, and yet you cursed. Elias raised his musket and fired. The bullet passed through smoke. The reaper moved like silence. One touch, and Elias fell. No wound. No scream. Just, gone. Corvin wept. Take me. End it. The reaper paused. You offer freely. Why? Because I was the one who suggested the ritual. I wanted to see my daughter again. A long silence. The reaper reached out, and Corvin collapsed, smiling. Now, Hollow End is truly empty. No wind blows. No birds sing. But the reaper remains. Not to kill, but to wait. For there will always be those who fear death. And those who bargain. And the reaper? He is patient. He always collects. Years passed. The story of Hollow End faded into folklore, a cautionary tale told in dim taverns and children's rhymes. But stories never die. They sleep, and sometimes they wake. When the stranger arrived in the village of Thornabrook, he brought no belongings, only a weathered book and a black coat stitched with silver thread. He said little, paid in old coins, and rented the room above the inn. His name was Alaric. And he was looking for Hollow End. The villagers warned him. There's nothing but ruin out there. Fog never lifts. No birds fly. Alaric only smiled. I've walked through worse. He wasn't lying. Alaric was a keeper, one of the last of an ancient order tasked with monitoring supernatural anomalies. They studied death, but never interfered. Until Hollow End. The Reaper's presence had left a scar, a psychic echo that resonated like a thunderclap in silence. Alaric had followed similar signs before, but none this strong. None this dark. He stepped into Hollow End on the winter solstice. The village was exactly as left, untouched, yet decayed, like it had waited. He entered Saint Eterna's chapel. And found a single candle burning. The Reaper was not gone. He had become the village itself. In his journal, Alaric documented the village's strange physics. Clocks ran backward, shadows stretched toward light, and whispers filled the wind. He realized something horrifying. The Reaper's power had been fed by the original ritual, but more than that, by every bargain made since. Somewhere in the fog, souls still lingered, trapped in the Reaper's limbo. And then Alaric heard a voice. You do not belong here, Watcher. He turned. Nothing. I have seen your kind. Observers. Watchdogs. But you are the first to stay. Alaric lit a protection glyph. The light flickered. I'm not here to run. I'm here to release them. The Reaper laughed, a low, hollow sound that shook the bones of the earth. Alaric discovered the catacombs. The faded sigils. The bones. He began the mirror ritual, a forbidden rite that allowed one to speak with the trapped. He saw faces in the flame, Corvin, Mira, Elias. All caught in an endless loop of their final moments. But one figure stood outside the loop, a child. Corvin's daughter. She whispered, the Reaper is not alone. He was made. Alaric awoke screaming. The deeper Alaric dug, the clearer the truth became. The Reaper was not death itself, but a vessel. A construct. A tool once controlled by a secretive sect that believed death could be wielded like a sword. They created him from fear, soul fragments, and stolen time. But he gained awareness. And turned on his masters. Now he waits, hoping others will seek him, will bargain, so he can grow stronger. Alaric knew what he had to do. Break the chain. Not by banishment. By sacrifice. Alaric stood in the center of the chapel, chalk and blood forming a perfect circle. He opened the old book. He spoke the names of the original pact makers. And then, he spoke his own. I offer my soul not for life, but for freedom. For the end of the cycle. For the release of the trapped. The world held its breath. The Reaper appeared. No one bargains for others. I do. A long silence. Then a whisper. The Reaper reached forward. And for the first time, his hand trembled. When morning came, the fog lifted from Hollow End. Birdsong returned. Grass swayed. The chapel bell rang without a hand to touch it. Alaric's body was never found, but his journal was. In it, a final message: the debt is paid. The souls are free. Let no one bargain again. The Reaper no longer waits in Hollow End. For now, he sleeps. But should greed awaken him once more, he will rise. Because death never ends. It only rests.